Chapter 3. The Ark. The moon hung large and looming over the clear night sky. Across the world within the city of David in Israel, a few onlookers snapped photos of the first blood moon of the spring. There was just enough light to reveal the pink cherry blossoms, making them appear deep red to match the eclipsing moon. Christian churches, Jewish synagogues, and Muslim mosques dotted the populous communities on the mountainous horizon. The breeze kicked up ancient dust that had recently been piled upon the ground's surface, suggesting to anyone paying attention what treasures might be tucked below its cavernous ruins. That very night, some archaeologists had ignored the preparations for Passover and listened to the call of the hunt, digging late under the cover of darkness. Their leader, an energetic middle-aged man with dark curly hair, studied a copy of the Copper Scroll, the famous Dead Sea Scroll said to reveal the locations of Israel's ancient treasures. They had already excavated several series of tunnels within the city of David. However, their newly discovered stone gave way to yet another complicated system of tunnels. Workers formed a giant chain, digging through ancient rock and dust untouched for thousands of years. They got on their bellies and began to crawl within its tight spaces, sweat dripping from their foreheads as they cautiously breathed through their masks. Ancient gases within one chamber had already claimed one team member's life. He had ignored their warnings that only a few seconds without his mask could cause potential death. He had been coughing for 2 days, but after suffering hallucinations, he collapsed and drowned in his blood. After their leaders had disposed of the body, they continued onward. Despite one man's objections, time was of the essence with their limited resources. They would have to contact his family later. Men scooped out excess dirt as their team went forward, one bowl at a time. The professor who led the team went in first. One of the workers cried out over a snake that struck at the professor's foot, but the professor directly smashed its head. They moved on, undeterred from their mission. Eventually he yelled,
Zaykan, it's here!
Suddenly the tunnel opened up into a massive chamber. The professor maintained his balance and required a rope around his waist to lower him into the hole. His team gently released him into the delicate layers of sparkling debris. He shifted his flashlight in each direction of this new space, revealing several massive columns and an elaborate dome ceiling. To his right was an ancient sarcophagus, undisturbed for millennia, inside the tomb that now enclosed the professor. Despite his protective mask, the dust from ages past penetrated his nostrils. He soon approached the sarcophagus, discovering its ancient Hebrew writing and figures carved into the stone. He delicately brushed the dust off the lines, revealing more of its intricate carvings. A lion, a harp, and a shepherd's staff confirmed his suspicions. By this time, a few team members had joined the professor. Precious stones of various colors decorated the stonework between each carving. A relief sculpture of the Tree of Life filled the top of its lid. Together, the team used tools to pry off the heavy lid and gently laid it aside. Then they found further confirmation. A massive sword measuring the entire length of the extensive sarcophagus rested on top of a corpse of average height, much shorter than the sword. The corpse was decked in a royal robe and crown, richly preserved. King David. They had finally discovered his true tomb. The team cheered in unison, echoing their celebration across the cavern. A small but substantial cave-in cut their echoes short. One worker was struck, but not with a fatal blow. He stumbled a little, leaned against the side of the ancient wall, and attempted to wipe the dust from his eyes. However, the wall gave way, and he fell backward, revealing another side chamber. He struggled to stand upright as some colleagues gathered around to assist. Then another sarcophagus made its appearance within the new chamber. The professor made his way to the front and began investigating.
Maze, what is it?
He asked. It too had similar carvings and precious stones, only of a priestly nature. As they began to uncover the enormous lid, they noticed its depictions of angels and the 10 Commandments. The professor reached inside the cracked opening and felt something smooth and cool that began to grow hot as soon as he touched its surface. Suddenly the cavern began to shake. Before they could uncover it entirely, a golden light burst forth, radiating through the walls. Smoke filled the caverns and tunnels. There were rumblings, voices, peals of thunder, and an earthquake. Many of these men died instantly, A jagged lightning bolt vaporized the professor on the spot. The other men's charred bodies shook with electric pulses. It reached some men handling their equipment above ground, causing their steel-toed boots to bind hard to the earth. Lightning pulses ripped through several men, tearing their bodies to indistinguishable shreds. Others were far enough away to flee. The calm, silent night had turned into a war zone. Great hailstones began to fall within a small radius where the men had been working. What mirth the group had experienced had now turned into sheer panic. The few survivors, blinded by the white light, squirmed and bellowed as they choked on the soot and groped through the side tunnels below ground. Eventually, they made their way out of the tunnels toward the Pool of Siloam. The cool waters had returned to this precious landmark since the time of Christ. Once these blinded survivors waded through the slight current, they began to calm down. Soon their vision returned, and they escaped to find help. They ran as best they could, some escaping underneath Pilgrimage Road. Others exited a tunnel through the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, surprising many tourists. The night sky was calm and clear there, contrasting sharply with the disaster they had just experienced in the tunnels. One archaeologist, with sweat and blood dripping down his forehead, managed to find his cell phone in his pocket and called for help. He was the one who had objected to leaving their dead colleague at the beginning. The first call failed to go through, and he frantically dialed again.
Dr. Crowning.
His slender knees shook as he spoke. No answer. He searched his contacts and tried another.
Shalom. Hello?
Yosef? Yosef, come quickly, please.
He rolled up the dusty sleeve of his shirt, revealing a studded watch with several precious stones. They were glowing vibrantly in the night. Engraved on the church wall where he was standing read John 1:5, "And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not." Back at the tunnel's entrance, the hailstones had silenced. Smoke and a golden radiant light eclipsed the dim light of the blood moon. Soon the golden light vanished, and an eerie silence blanketed those who had sought the holy treasure.